Hello everyone. This is 6-Path Weeb, and welcome back to the channel. Today we continue our fanfiction journey with an exciting new chapter, What If Naruko Was Trained by the Salamander? Part 2. In this series, we explore an alternate storyline where Naruko's path takes a very different turn under the guidance of the legendary Salamander. How would her abilities change? How would the ninja world react to her growth and decisions? That's exactly what we're diving into today. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is created for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, without wasting any more time, let's begin the story. Naruko stirred as the bright morning sun peeked through the curtains of her hotel room. She stretched and let out a quiet yawn. The warm light made the room feel cheerful, and for a moment she wished she could stay in bed a little longer. Then she remembered, today was the exam. She sat up and rubbed her eyes, her bright blonde hair falling in soft, slightly messy strands around her face. Across the room, Konan was already awake, sitting near the window and tying a ribbon around her long blue hair. "Good morning," Naruko said with a sleepy smile. Konan returned the smile. "Good morning. Don't you have the exams today?" Naruko nodded and hopped out of bed, stretching her arms high above her head. "Yep. The big day." She walked to the closet and looked through her clothes, thinking carefully. "What do you think I should wear today?" Konan tilted her head thoughtfully. "Something comfortable. You'll want to move easily." "Good point," Naruko said. She chose her usual training outfit, dark blue shinobi gear that was sturdy but light enough for running and jumping. After pulling it on, she tied her forehead protector neatly and checked her reflection in the mirror. Konan walked over and gave an approving nod. "You look ready." Naruko grinned brightly. "I feel ready." Konan chuckled softly. "Just remember, the exams aren't about showing off. They're about teamwork, clever thinking, and staying calm." Naruko nodded again, more seriously this time. "Right. I'll do my best." "That's all anyone can ask," Konan said. Naruko picked up her training pack and slung it over her shoulder. Before leaving, she turned back to Konan. "Wish me luck." "You won't need luck," Konan replied kindly. "But you have it anyway." Naruko laughed and stepped out into the bright morning. A little while later, Naruko arrived at the academy building where the exam was being held. The hallways buzzed with voices as young ninja from many villages gathered together. Some looked confident, some looked nervous, and some were whispering excitedly to their teammates. Naruko climbed the stairs and entered the testing room. She paused just inside the doorway and looked around. So many different ninja were there, each one with their own skills and dreams. Some wore uniforms from distant villages, while others had colorful outfits that showed off their personalities. Naruko found an empty seat and sat down, quietly observing the room. She liked watching people and guessing what kind of ninja they might be. Nearby, a silver-haired student was showing a group of other examinees some special information cards. The cards seemed to hold facts about different participants in the exam. The group leaned in with great curiosity. Naruko listened from her seat, interested in what they were saying. After a moment, one of the students noticed her sitting a few rows away. The student gently pointed in Naruko's direction. "What about that blonde ninja over there?" the student asked. Several heads turned. Naruko blinked in surprise when she realized they were looking at her. Then she gave them a friendly wave and a cheerful smile. After all, today wasn't just about passing an exam. It was also a chance to meet new friends. Kabuto followed her gaze and adjusted his glasses thoughtfully. After flipping through a small deck of information cards, he found the one he wanted. "No registered name," he said quietly. "Just Hydra. People call her Kiri's Bright Hydra. Apparently she impressed the instructors during her academy graduation in Kirigakure. She has completed 10 C-rank missions, 20 B-rank missions, 20 A-rank missions. All of them listed as special reconnaissance and difficult problem-solving tasks. And 1 S-rank support mission." Kabuto paused, looking toward the blonde girl with the oversized sword resting across her back. "She's without a doubt one of the most capable genin here," he continued. "Though it seems she doesn't have a team." Everyone who overheard the explanation stared at the blonde girl with wide eyes. Many quietly decided it would be wise not to bother her. Well, almost everyone. Uchiha Sasuke simply crossed his arms and looked away, clearly unimpressed. Their quiet discussion ended when a scarred Tokubutsu Jonin walked into the room and instructed everyone to sit down. He explained the rules of the written test while several Chunin proctors handed out papers. Naruko Uzumaki glanced over her sheet and sighed softly. Information gathering, she thought. Not exactly my specialty. But that 10th question looks interesting. She flipped the paper over once the test began and instead started sketching the room. Drawing was her favorite hobby. She believed everyone needed something peaceful outside of missions and training. The black pen provided for the exam worked well enough for her charcoal-style drawing. Soon a careful picture of the serious proctor, Ibiki, appeared on the page as he looked out over the hopeful Jinan. 45 minutes later, Ibiki spoke again. All right. Now for the 10th question. However, there is an extra rule. If you choose to answer it and fail, you will lose the opportunity to become a chunin in the future. If you prefer, you may leave now and try again another year. Gasps spread across the room. A few teams quickly stood up and left. Naruko narrowed her eyes thoughtfully. Something about this feels like a test of courage, she realized. Ah. That must be it. She smiled slightly and stayed seated. The room slowly quieted until only a smaller group of determined Jinan remained. Ibiki looked around at them, then suddenly smiled. All right then. You pass. Surprised voices filled the room as he explained that the true purpose of the test had been to measure determination and teamwork rather than knowledge alone. Naruko only listened halfway. She was quietly sensing the flow of chakra around the building when suddenly. Crash! A large black bundle burst through the window and unfolded into a giant banner that read. Introducing, the exciting and energetic Mitarashi Anko, proctor of the second exam. Ibiki rubbed his forehead. You're early as usual. Anko grinned brightly and waved. Before she could say anything else, a gentle clapping sound echoed through the room. Everyone turned to see Naruko standing there with 4 water clones beside her. Each clone wore a different village headband and held up a scorecard. The original Naruko and the clones wearing Konoha, Kumo, and Suna headbands all displayed perfect scores of 10. The clone with the Iwa headband held up a 6.5. It appears the Iwa judge is not impressed, Naruko said cheerfully. Perhaps next time. The room stared in stunned silence. Anko leaned toward Ibiki and whispered, I like that kid. She then looked around at the remaining participants. 46 left. Not bad, she said. That's about 15 teams. Let's see how many finish the next exam. With that, she pointed toward the window. All right, maggots. Follow me. The Jinan hurried after her as she leapt outside. Naruko lingered for a moment, adding a quick signature to her drawing before dispersing her clones into mist and following the others. Ibiki began collecting the test papers. When he reached Naruko's desk, he paused at the detailed sketch of himself. In the corner was a small signature. Uzumaki-en. His eyes widened slightly as he picked it up. Interesting, he murmured. The second exam took place in a huge forest filled with towering trees and winding paths. It was known as the Forest of Discovery, a place designed to test teamwork, navigation, and creativity. Naruko stepped through the gate and stretched happily. So the goal is to find another team and trade scrolls until we have a matching pair, she said thoughtfully. Sounds like a giant scavenger hunt. She looked up at the tall trees and grinned. Perfect. Moving quickly from branch to branch, she soon spotted a group of Jinan from the hidden rain village observing a leaf team from a distance. Naruko hopped down lightly onto a nearby branch. Hello there, she whispered politely. The rain ninja jumped in surprise before relaxing when they realized she meant no harm. Would you like to trade clues? Naruko asked. I have information about the Eastern Trail. After a brief discussion, the teams exchanged hints and scroll information before parting ways peacefully. Half an hour later, Naruko arrived near the central tower with both scrolls she needed. She had solved several clever riddles along the way and even helped another team untangle a tricky puzzle involving hidden markers on tree trunks. Instead of going inside the tower immediately, she sat on a rock outside and looked back toward the forest. A strange ripple of chakra drifted through the air. Naruko closed her eyes and focused. That's unusual, she said softly. Curious rather than worried, she stood up and picked up her large sword. Well, she said with a bright smile, maybe there's another mystery waiting. And with that, Naruko stepped lightly back into the trees, eager to discover what adventure the forest might offer next. Orochimaru froze in the middle of his speech as a deep, ancient feeling of danger spread through the forest. A mighty roar echoed behind him, powerful enough to make the leaves tremble. Thanks to many years of quick thinking, he leapt aside just in time. An enormous ice-covered head of a water hydra crashed into the ground where he had been standing moments earlier. The mysterious ninja turned sharply, drawing his blade. Before him floated 4 massive hydra heads covered in shimmering ice. Their eyes followed his every movement. Slowly, the head that had struck the ground rose and joined the others, forming a circle around him. Orochimaru's voice lowered. "Who's there? Show yourself." From a nearby tree branch, a young ninja stepped forward and lightly dropped to the forest floor. Her name was Naruko. Her bright hair shone in the sunlight, and a calm but confident expression rested on her face. 5 great hydra heads were connected to the gauntlet on her left hand, each moving like a loyal guardian. In her right hand she held a large sword, which she gently pointed toward the mysterious visitor. "Here I am. Orochimaru, correct?" she asked. He nodded slowly. Naruko smiled. "Good. That means my guess was right. I suppose you came here looking for the Uchiha boy." Orochimaru narrowed his eyes. "Yes." Naruko tilted her head thoughtfully. "Let me guess. You already gave him one of your strange marks?" The snake-like ninja remained silent, which was answer enough. Naruko sighed softly. "Well, since those marks must take a lot of energy to make, and you've already been busy today, why don't we both save some trouble and you simply head home?" "Are you threatening me, child?" he asked. She shook her head calmly. "Not at all. I'm just being honest. I'm not quite as experienced as you yet. But I'm well rested and ready. You, however, seem tired. And if the village guard sensed the burst of energy earlier, they might arrive soon." She shrugged casually. "So it seems wiser for everyone if you leave now." Orochimaru studied her carefully. "And who told you such things about me?" "A few people," Naruko replied. "But the one who laughed about it the most was my former teacher, Salamander Hanzo." At that name, Orochimaru grew very quiet. Hanzo had been a legendary master. Anyone trained by him would surely be skilled. After a moment, Orochimaru gave a thin smile. "You are called Hydra, yes? Very well. We shall meet again someday, Hydra." With that, his body melted into the ground like soft mud and disappeared. Naruko shivered a little. "That man gives me the creeps," she muttered. She quickly walked over to a fallen ninja nearby. The kunoichi, Anko, was lying on the ground, injured and weak. Naruko knelt beside her and placed glowing green hands above the wounds. "Let's see if I can help," she said gently. Anko opened one eye and sighed. "Don't bother. I've been poisoned. I doubt a young ninja can fix that." Naruko frowned thoughtfully as she examined the flow of energy in Anko's body. You're right about the poison," she said slowly. "But there's something else." Her hands hovered over the strange seal on Anko's shoulder. "This mark. It's not working properly." Anko blinked. "What do you mean?" "It's meant to gather energy from you," Naruko explained. "But it's badly damaged. It's blocking most of your strength. You've been living with only a small portion of your real power." Anko stared in surprise. Naruko tapped her chin, thinking deeply. "Aha," she said suddenly. "I might be able to fix it." Anko raised an eyebrow. "And what would that cost me?" Naruko gave a warm, friendly smile. "I'm hoping to build something someday," she said. "A place where people who feel left out can belong. I'll need friends and partners to help me do it." "So, your help and friendship in exchange for helping you today." Anko thought for a long moment. The forest was quiet around them. Finally she closed her eyes and nodded. "All right. Go ahead." Naruko nodded happily. "Great. But I should warn you, this might feel a little uncomfortable." She carefully focused her chakra. The soft green glow around her hand slowly turned into a deep blue light. Gently, she guided the energy into the seal. For a moment the light spread across Anko's body like glowing waves. The strange mark shifted and reshaped itself into a new design, 9 tiny hydra heads forming a circle. Warm energy flowed through Anko's body, easing her pain and repairing the damage within her. After a few moments the glow faded. Anko opened her eyes, amazed. "I feel better," she said softly. Naruko grinned with relief. "Good." But before she could say anything more, Anko gave a tired smile and promptly fell asleep. Naruko chuckled quietly. "Well, I suppose healing takes a lot out of someone." She carefully lifted Anko and began walking back toward the tall tower where the exams were being held. 4 days later, Anko woke up in a quiet room inside the tower. Naruko was sitting nearby, reading a scroll. When she noticed Anko awake, she smiled. From that moment on, things became very busy. Reports had to be made, meetings were held, and many discussions followed. Now Anko sat at a small table with Naruko and their friend Konan. Warm tea rested in their cups. "So," Anko said thoughtfully, "you're planning to leave after the Chunin exams?" Naruko nodded. "Yes. I want to travel and build a place where everyone can feel welcome." Konan smiled kindly. "A place where people support one another." Anko looked down at her tea for a moment, then nodded. "I'll come with you," she said. Naruko blinked in surprise. "You don't have to decide so quickly." "I know," Anko replied. "But I've thought about it. Sometimes a new path is exactly what someone needs." Konan laughed softly. "That sounds like a wonderful adventure." Naruko rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. "There's just one small problem." Both girls looked at her. "We still don't have a name for our group." Anko and Konan both sighed. "Maybe we can decide that later," Anko said. Naruko laughed. All right. Later it is." She glanced at the clock on the wall. "Oh. When do the next exams start?" Anko checked the time. "In about 45 minutes. Naruko stood up with bright excitement. "Then let's go watch." The three friends walked out together, ready for whatever new adventures the future might bring. Konan sat in the stands, watching the young ninja gather in the arena below. The seats were slowly filling with teachers, observers, and students from different villages. A gentle smile rested on her face as her eyes followed a certain bright-haired girl among the crowd. Naruko stood out easily. Her golden hair seemed to catch the light, and her lively energy made it almost impossible for her to stay still. Even from a distance, Konan could see the determination in the girl's bright blue eyes. Konan folded her hands in her lap and let out a quiet breath. She had met many shinobi in her life, but Naruko was different. The girl carried a warmth that reminded Konan of sunlight breaking through clouds after a long rain. Her thoughts drifted back to a memory from 3 years earlier. Flashback. Rain fell steadily over the small border town between the lands of wind and rain. Konan walked slowly along the quiet street, her cloak gathered close around her to keep out the chill. Border patrol duty could be tiring, especially in weather like this. The sky was gray, the streets were quiet, and the rain seemed determined to fall forever. Konan looked up at the clouds and sighed softly. The cold droplets tapped gently against rooftops and wooden signs. "I should find somewhere warm," she murmured. A small ramen shop glowed with soft light at the corner of the street. Grateful for shelter, Konan stepped inside. The shop was cozy and quiet. Steam curled gently from pots behind the counter. Only one other customer sat inside, a small blonde girl with a stack of empty bowls beside her. Konan paused for a moment. The girl looked about 12 or 13, with bright blue eyes and 3 whisker-like marks on each cheek. Goggles rested loosely around her neck, and her expression was cheerful as she finished another bowl of ramen. "Excuse me, miss," said the shop owner kindly. "What would you like to eat?" "Something warm would be wonderful," Konan replied. "How about a bowl of miso ramen?" "That sounds perfect. Thank you." Konan sat down a few seats away from the girl. After a moment, she noticed the girl looking at her with curious eyes. The girl tilted her head thoughtfully. "You look like you've been walking in the rain for a long time," she said. Konan blinked in mild surprise. "I suppose I have." The shop owner placed Konan's ramen in front of her. Steam rose gently from the bowl. For a few minutes, the two ate quietly. Then the girl leaned back in her chair and stretched. "Hey," she said, turning toward Konan, "do you like the rain?" Konan thought about it for a moment. "Not really," she admitted. "To me, rain sometimes feels like the sky is crying for all the sad things that happen in the world." The girl blinked, then rubbed her chin thoughtfully. "That's an interesting idea," she said. "But I think rain is nice." "Oh?" Konan asked. "Yeah," the girl said brightly. "Rain sounds peaceful when it falls at night. It helps trees grow, and it fills rivers and lakes. Without rain, the world would be dry and empty." She smiled warmly. "I think rain helps the world start fresh." Konan studied the girl for a moment. Such simple words, yet they carried an unexpected wisdom. "What's your name?" Konan asked. "Naruko," the girl replied proudly. "Naruko Uzumaki." Konan gave a small nod. "My name is Konan." Naruko grinned widely. "Nice to meet you, Konan." After paying for the meal, Naruko hopped down from her seat. "Come on," she said cheerfully. "Let's walk. The rain's not so bad once you get used to it." Konan hesitated for only a moment before following her outside. She didn't realize it then, but that simple walk through the rain would become the beginning of an unusual friendship. End flashback. "Hey!" Konan blinked as someone nudged her arm. Anko stood beside her in the stands, arms crossed and grinning. "You're daydreaming again. The matches are about to start." Konan straightened slightly and looked back toward the arena. The Hokage had just finished explaining the purpose of the exams. The young ninja waited below, buzzing with nervous excitement. The electronic board above the arena flickered as names began to scroll across it. The first match was announced, and the two students stepped down to the arena floor. Konan watched quietly. The students demonstrated quick thinking, clever movements, and teamwork exercises that tested their skills. Teachers nearby nodded in approval as the competitors showed what they had learned. Soon the board spun again. "Next participants," the proctor announced. One of the names made Konan's eyes brighten slightly. Naruko Uzumaki. The blonde girl jogged happily into the arena, waving up toward the stands as if greeting old friends. She stretched her arms, bounced lightly on her feet, and smiled at her opponent. "Let's do our best," Naruko said. Her opponent nodded, equally determined. The signal was given. Instead of a harsh battle, the match became a lively display of agility, quick thinking, and creative ninja techniques. Naruko dashed across the arena with boundless energy, using clever tricks and playful strategies to outmaneuver her partner. The crowd chuckled more than once at her inventive solutions. Finally, after an impressive sequence of moves, the proctor raised a hand. "Match complete." Applause rose from the stands as both students bowed respectfully to each other. Naruko scratched the back of her head and laughed sheepishly as she jogged back toward the seating area. For a moment, she glanced up into the crowd. Her eyes found Konan. Naruko waved enthusiastically. Konan couldn't help but smile back. As the next match prepared to begin, Konan leaned back in her seat, thoughtful. 3 years ago, she had met a cheerful girl in a quiet ramen shop on a rainy afternoon. Now that same girl stood proudly among the next generation of ninja. And somehow, Konan had the feeling that Naruko Uzumaki's story was only just beginning. Flashback. The rain fell gently over the quiet streets of Amigakure. Soft droplets tapped against rooftops and puddles, creating a calm rhythm in the evening air. Konan stepped outside and watched the blonde child walking ahead of her. She wasn't quite sure why she was following the girl. Perhaps it was curiosity. Perhaps it was the surprising confidence in the child's voice. The young ninja stood in the rain without a care, her bright blonde hair damp as it fell over her face. "Come," the girl said kindly. "I want to show you something." Konan folded her arms, though she continued walking after her. "Why do you think you understand anything about me?" The girl glanced back and tilted her head thoughtfully. "I'm not judging you," she replied calmly. "I'm only noticing things." She gestured down the empty street. Many years ago, this road was full of people. Families, shops, and laughter. Now it's quiet. Konan looked around. The buildings stood silent, their windows dark. "The town changed," the girl continued gently. "When times became difficult, many people left. Some traveled far away hoping for better days. They walked through several streets until they reached a quiet neighborhood where only a few houses still showed signs of life. Places like this used to be full of children playing," the girl said softly. "Schools, markets, gardens. But when hope disappears, people go searching for it somewhere else." Konan frowned slightly. "You think one town tells the story of a whole country?" The girl shook her head. "No. But sometimes a small place shows us what people are feeling." Konan studied the girl carefully now. "You speak as if you know many things." The girl smiled a little. "I listen," she said. "And I care." Konan felt something unexpected stir in her chest. The child's words carried a quiet honesty that was hard to ignore. After a moment she asked, "Who are you, really?" The blonde girl hesitated, then spoke firmly. "My name is Naruko Uzumaki." Naruto Uzumaki, known here as Naruko, placed a hand over her heart. "Some people give me strange titles or labels. But I'm just a person who wants to make the world kinder." Konan blinked in surprise. Naruko continued, her bright blue eyes determined. "One day I want this village, and many others, to become places where everyone can smile again." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Rain continued to fall softly around them. Konan felt her worries and doubts rise to the surface. She slowly knelt down, overwhelmed by emotions she had kept hidden for a long time. Naruko stepped closer and gently placed an arm around her shoulders. "It's okay," Naruko said softly. "Sometimes people feel lost. But that doesn't mean they can't find their way again." Konan wiped away her tears and looked up. "Thank you," she whispered. "What should I call the girl who reminded me to hope again?" Naruko grinned brightly. "Just call me Naruko." They spent the rest of the evening by a small riverbank, sharing stories from their lives. For the first time in many years, Konan laughed freely. When the old clock tower struck midnight, the sound echoed across the quiet town. Konan helped Naruko stand. "Where will you go now?" she asked. Naruko looked toward the horizon thoughtfully. "I'm going to travel and learn as much as I can," she said. "Then one day I'll return and help this village shine again." Konan believed her. Before leaving, Konan gave Naruko a quick, friendly hug. "Come back someday," she said with a small smile. Naruko waved as she walked away into the rain. Flashback end. Konan smiled at the memory. A small nudge from beside her brought her back to the present. "You drifted off again," said Anko Mitarashi with a playful grin. Konan blinked. "Did I miss much?" "Not really," Anko replied. "A few matches finished. Everyone's waiting for the next one." Konan looked up at the large board in the arena. 2 names were written there. Naruko Uzumaki. And Kabuto Yakashi. In the arena. Naruko stepped onto the training field with an eager smile. Across from her stood Kabuto, adjusting his glasses thoughtfully. "This should be interesting," Naruko said cheerfully. Kabuto nodded politely. "I agree." The referee raised a hand. "Begin." Both young ninja moved quickly, demonstrating their skills with careful focus. Naruko used clever footwork and swirling water techniques to create playful streams across the ground, while Kabuto responded with precise movements and clever strategy. Water shaped itself into graceful dragons and leaping waves that danced across the arena like living art. The crowd watched in amazement at the display of control and creativity. Soon a gentle mist spread across the field, shimmering in the stadium lights. Kabuto looked around with curiosity. "Very clever," he said. From somewhere within the mist, Naruko's voice rang out with cheerful confidence. "Ready for the next surprise?" The crowd leaned forward, eager to see what the spirited young ninja would do next. A voice from somewhere in the drifting mist made Kabuto turn quickly. "Right here," it said. Kabuto spun around and kicked toward the sound, but his foot met nothing but cool air. He paused and listened carefully, trying to guess where his opponent might be hiding. The mist slowly began to thin, and shapes in the arena started to appear again. Suddenly, a wooden practice sword gently tapped the back of his shoulder. Kabuto blinked in surprise. Standing behind him was Naruko, her bright blonde ponytail swaying as she stepped out of the fading mist. She smiled proudly and lifted her practice sword. "I guess that means I found you first," she said cheerfully. The referee cleared his throat and raised his hand. "Winner of this match, Naruko." The young ninja watching from the sidelines murmured in amazement. Naruko had moved so quickly and quietly that almost no one had seen how she did it. Naruko scratched the back of her head and laughed a little. "Hee hee. I've been practicing my sneaking." The referee then called the remaining contestants forward. "All right, everyone. Please draw a number to determine the matchups for the final round." Each ninja stepped forward and picked a slip of paper. Naruko drew number 1. Kintsuchi drew number 5. Neji drew number 4. Tamari drew number 7. Gaara drew number 2. Kankuro drew number 6. Dosu drew number 8. The matches were written on the board. Round 1, Naruko vs Gaara. Round 2, Neji vs Sasuke. Round 3, Kintsuchi vs Kankuro. Round 4, Tamari vs Dosu. Naruko looked across the arena and noticed Gaara watching her. She grinned brightly and gave him a confident thumbs up. To Naruko, the upcoming match felt like an exciting challenge. High above them, the Hokage stood and addressed the group. "You will have 1 month to prepare for the final matches," he announced. "Use this time to train, learn, and grow stronger." Naruko's eyes sparkled with excitement. 1 whole month. I'm going to train harder than ever. About half an hour later, Naruko and her teammate Konan had returned to their hotel room. Naruko stretched her arms above her head and sighed happily. Phew. It feels good to finally relax after a long day. Konan sat by the window, folding a paper crane with gentle care. You did very well today, she said with a soft smile. Naruko walked over and looked at the little paper bird. You're still making those? They're amazing. Konan placed the crane on the table. They remind me of the day we first met. Naruko tilted her head. Really? Konan nodded. You were the first person who believed I could become stronger and kinder at the same time. I'll never forget that. Naruko rubbed the back of her head shyly. Aw, it was nothing. Friends help each other. That's just how it works. Konan smiled warmly. Still, I'm grateful. Naruko sat beside her and looked out the window at the evening sky glowing orange and pink. Well, Naruko said, grinning, we've got a whole month before the finals. That means lots of training. And maybe a few bowls of ramen too. Konan laughed quietly. I think that sounds like a perfect plan. The two friends spent the rest of the evening talking about training ideas, sharing stories, and watching the stars appear in the night sky. Soon, the long day caught up with them, and they drifted off to sleep, ready for the new adventures and challenges waiting in the days ahead. Dear YouTube family. That's all for now. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Your support means a lot and helps the community grow. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. Thank you. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.